Hey y'all, really quick video today. I just wanted to cover supplementation since like one or two people voted for that in my story the other day. So with supplementation, uh, as like a beginner, basically what all you really need to know is unless a doctor like prescribes something, like if you have like a vitamin D deficiency, um, or something like of that nature, it's really not worth worrying about. Marketing for these things is really powerful. Even if you think you know better, they can still win you over a lot of times with some sort of self-aware marketing. Uh, and they're just not like sports supplements are just really not important for most people. Um, as in like in the ideal case, they can give you like that much of a benefit. A couple that are good for most people, especially like later on, are creatine monohydrate. It's I think it's gotten more expensive now, but it's typically like pretty dirt cheap. You can just order like or buy some generic creatine monohydrate powder, just some sort of unflavored type. Just that's all you need. Don't worry about like there's fancy other types. Monohydrate's the like best basically, um, unless you have some sort of weird digestive issues. And then you could probably try to take like smaller doses through the day, and you don't need to load it. You could just 5 grams a day, and you're good. Uh, Protein powder. Um, I struggle to call this one a supplement because honestly, it's kind of more just food. It's just a form of food, and it's literally just more protein. I use it for protein ice cream. I like it because I can make something like a peanut butter or like banana ice cream kind of thing with loads of protein and not many other calories. It's just super convenient and it's a really cheap form of protein. So that one, pretty good. It comes in a few forms. There's like protein isolate, casein protein, which is like slower digesting and usually comes out thicker. Isolate just is usually more expensive for like a few less calories, not really worth bothering with. And then there's some other types for different dietary needs, but the most standard one is just like classic whey protein. Uh, but any of them can really work. Casein protein is really good if you're trying to make ice creams with it, like I talk about. Uh, Caffeine, if you're into coffee, is a good one. Obviously, like tons of people drink it unless you have some sort of health condition or it gives you like a bunch of like jitters or anxiety. Coffee is actually super healthy. Uh, it's just a good thing. Don't overdo it. Don't go over like 400 plus milligrams a day as a general rule, unless you're someone who's super tolerant. Uh, don't have it too close. Don't have it like 6 hours before bed or so. Don't have it like the second you wake up, because that can have some not huge effects, but apparently it can mess with your sleep, like regulation or whatever. Um, just be reasonable with it. This is the main ingredient in most pre-workouts. They have other ingredients in them, but for the most part, pre-workouts are just kind of flavored caffeine or flavored stimulants of some sort. They're fine. I like when I have extra money, I like to order them sometimes just for a really convenient, like tasty little shake it up, drink it, and you get the placebo feeling like you're doing something. They can give you that tingly feeling, which I personally like if they have a certain ingredient called beta alanine. Uh, but for the most part, if you're short on cash, just stick with coffee. It's fine if you like put some milk in it, put like some stevia or sweetener of choice, not a big deal. Um, let's see. So those are like the big three. I personally, the only other ones I take right now, because I don't even have pre-workout currently, are I take L-theanine before bed usually, or if my caffeine like gives me some anxiety, it's just an amino, like 200 milligrams of it. It's just an amino acid that helps relaxation. You don't have to do it, but it's cheap, and I struggle with like anxiety and overactivity in my brain before bed, and it helps me get into more of that sleep-inducing mindset. Um, Ashwagandha I take because it's supposed to help with like stress relief and stuff like that. Again, I'm not recommending it. I use it just because I've been at this for a long time, and because I have issues with like trauma and anxiety and everything. I feel it might be of some benefit to me, and it's not super expensive, but I'm not recommending it. It's not going to be a game changer or anything like that. And then I take vitamin D, especially mostly during the winter, and because I wake up pretty late, so I don't always get all the sunshine that I would like. Not necessarily like super necessary, but it's hard to, again, don't take this as medical advice. Don't go out and like get it without like doctor advice or your own research, but it's hard to like get into a dangerous area with vitamin D. So I take a little bit of it as like an insurance kind of policy. And I take zinc sometimes just because like I don't always necessarily eat a lot of foods that are high in it. There's websites online where you can, I'm trying to remember, I'll look into it after this and enter the name in the comments, but there's some websites, at least one in particular I'm thinking of, where you can kind of enter what you ate during the day and how much and your body weight and all that, and it'll tell you like a breakdown of all the nutrients you could possibly want and if you're getting adequate amounts of them. You should get, if you have the money and everything, if you're worried about like having a deficiency, like if you have low energy and stuff like that, see a doctor first though. Don't just rely on that and be like, oh, I have a zinc deficiency or something. Because overdoing these vitamins, not a good idea. It can have negative side effects, and even if it doesn't, it could just be a waste of money for you. Don't play around with this stuff casually. Like I said, I only take these couple sometimes under specific circumstances. And also, supplements aren't really regulated very well, so you don't really know what you're getting necessarily. So, food for thought. And that, along with like the creatine I already mentioned, is pretty much all I take supplementation wise. So some other supplements that you'll see that really just are, there's some like borderline ones like fish oil. If you get a good one, like if you can get over like 2 grams combined DHA and EPA a day, that might have some benefits. But again, these aren't regulated, so you don't always know how good quality the one you're getting is. And the research is pretty back and forth on how beneficial just taking fish oil supplements are or is. Having some salmon, a couple like 1 to 3 times a week will take care of that if you're into salmon or another fatty fish. I don't recommend tuna consumed regularly because it's a high mercury fish. You can get into some trouble there, apparently, overdoing it long term. But fish oil, if you have excessive income and you really, really want to cover your bases, it might have some like health, heart health and mood benefits and stuff. But the research is up in the air on that. You can take that as you will. Let's see. With some other borderline ones, melatonin can help some people with sleep. Try to start out with like 1/3 of a milligram and work your way up as needed. And pretty much eventually, once it stops being effective, you can up the dose a little bit or try to go off of it. sleep aids as a general rule are better used as needed, as goes with a lot of this stuff. Consult, like I was already saying, consult a doctor before touching any, bothering with anything. And then as far as specifically sports supplement goes, you have all sorts of ingredients that are in pre-workouts and such, like all sorts of like multivitamins, electrolyte blends, which honestly probably aren't going to be very useful to you unless you're someone who's doing a lot of sweating. Like I'll have like a Pedialyte powder or something if I'm doing like a cardio session that's an hour or so or longer. Like because by then I'll notice that my sweat will start just dropping off and I don't feel very great. That can be useful for those kinds of situations, but you probably don't need it just on its own. Especially like if it's one of the sugary ones, do you really need like a 200, 300 calorie Gatorade to like walk or run like 1 mile? Maybe, but maybe if it's indicated, but probably not. Uh, so like the vitamin blends, like all the B vitamins and stuff, don't really need to worry about that. It's mostly marketing. Uh, there's like other things like coenzyme Q10, beta alanine, what's that one? Citrulline malate, which is supposed to be good for like getting a bigger pump in the gym. Like these kind of, or oh dear God, the super creatine that's on Bang energy drinks, which by the way is not creatine at all. It doesn't count. It's not even creatine of any sort. These are all like, except for the electrolyte blend or whatever, they can be useful at like maybe the cutting edge of things. Like if you're a serious athlete looking to move up that extra percentage, and I don't mean you are someone who's been working out for 2 years or 3 or 4 or 5 years and you're basically a gym rat and you're like, well, that makes me a serious athlete. No, I'm talking about the people who are like competitors of some sort, have been training like a decade or whatever, and like that extra one, like couple extra percentage points might really make a difference for them, like win or lose, money or no money. Some of them like can be, again, fun. If you have some extra money and you want to pre-workout just for the fun, like the novelty of it, knock yourself out. Probably won't kill you. Like, again, stick to more reputable brands, talk to your doctor, etc. But you don't need, what I don't want you to do is like feel like you need these things or that they're going to make a big difference. They won't. There is no, like, in this fitness sphere, just like pretty much any sphere really, especially like any biological traits, there's literally no quick way to results, barring like certain surgeries essentially. Even steroids aren't like a quick way to results. They won't get you nearly what you think they will. It's not that like, oh, you can cheat and take the quick way, but there's consequences. No, there just isn't a quick way. The quickest thing is if you are a really high hyper responder to certain performance enhancers, they might do a lot for you. They might like catapult you to where you would have been like a couple years down the road anyway, at a huge cost to your health, a legal cost, and like having to possibly take other things to the rest of your life. And again, probably won't even get you there. There is no quick route. It all comes down really to consistency. That's the number one. Like, you can kind of screw up your diet and nutrition, your nutrition and your training and everything pretty like decently bad, but if you stick with it for years and years on end, you'll still get like the majority of what you are genetically capable of. So it just might be slower, basically. So consistency, genetics, and just hard quality training and quality nutrition, those three things right there are responsible for almost all of this. And then like the supplementation or the fancy exercises, like when someone's like, oh, do this type of bicep curl to get the peak of your bicep, or like the best bicep exercise or best chest exercise, da 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 da. All of that, like those little fine-tuned things, at best, a couple percentage points that are going to be imperceptible to just about anyone at the end of the day. Such a small difference that they'll be swallowed up by lighting and just water weight fluctuations. Which, by the way, speaking of water weight, you do not need to drink a gallon of water a day, probably. That's another... I'll address that more in another video, but the hydration thing, if you're not thirsty all the time, and you're not, like, urinating, like, freaking tree sap or whatever, or hardly at all, you're good. You don't need to worry about, like, hydration supplements or anything like that. Let's see, supplements. Oh yeah, BCAAs, that's like a scam one. For like vegans, they might have a benefit, but even then, essential amino acids, EAAs, are a better choice. For most of you, you're literally just spending like $30-$50 a month on Kool-Aid powder. Sorry to break it to you, doesn't have any real benefit whatsoever. Even if someone more jacked than me says it does. So that's one I wanted to address because I spent money on them when I was younger. Let's see. Yeah, so that's about it. I don't really need to keep going, I think, because basically there's a core concept here of there are no shortcuts. If someone's trying to sell you a supplement or something, and a supplement, a training strategy, a diet hack, any hack at all, it's setting you up for failure, because you're going to do that expecting to see quick results, which don't exist, and you're going to be discouraged when they don't happen. So for the most part, don't worry about supplementation unless it's like maybe protein and creatine, caffeine if you really like it. Otherwise, you don't really need to worry about that stuff unless you just really, really want to, and you want to toss away some money for like fun or experimentation. All right. Hope everyone has a good day. I hope I covered everything. I'm really tired. Didn't have a script or anything in mind, but I think I got it all. Have a good one.